to the OhioRAAM Show.
Well, hello everybody. This is Jim Lawyer here, and welcome to the OhioRAAM Show, the show about all things ultracycling and race across America. Hey Lee, how's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty well. We've had an interesting week here, and we got snow on the ground.
Definitely.
I guess you had snow about 12 miles from me there as well, didn't you?
Yeah, we had quite a bit. I was kind of shocked.
Yeah. Okay, well, we want to tell you that we're here because of all the wonderful people that operate the time stations here in Ohio. Time stations 41 in Oxford, Ohio, 42 in Blanchester, 43 in Chillicothe.
Mm-hmm.
And we appreciate Jim putting the sign up there so I can read it off and not forget where they're at. And we want to also talk about the signs we have here, the sign man, Mike Meaghan, who does those wonderful road signs along the route. People appreciate so much. We'll be talking more about that as we get closer to the race across America.
Definitely.
How you can get a souvenir sign and also help Mike finance that.
Yes.
He does it out of his own pocket, and we'd like to help him as much as we can.
Definitely.
So, we want to thank everyone who follow us on Facebook and give us likes there. And we thank everybody who subscribes on YouTube. And if you subscribe there, we want to make sure you ring that bell.
Definitely.
And that'll give you notices. It's a little different on Facebook than it was. They've changed it to an event. So instead of saying, remind me, you're going to say, are you going? Interested? Click on that, say interested, or you're going. It doesn't matter, either one. You will get a notification, which now comes up quite a bit earlier, I believe, Jim.
I think so. I think you're correct.
It did before. Before it was only like 10 minutes or so, and I think they remind you that earlier in the day, as I recall.
Yes.
So that'll help get your reminder and your entrance to the show. So.
Yep. And they can also go to our OhioRAAM Show website, correct?
That's right. And there you will find show notes on today's show and almost every show. Including how to follow our guests, our wonderful guests here today. You'll find links there, along with the results from the World Time Trial. My mind's somewhere else for some reason.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Any rate, you can find there's a link there to the results of the World Time Trials.
Correct.
And we're going to be talking about that.
Yes. And for upcoming things, also check out our OhioRAAM website, ohioram.bike. And it'll be updated here shortly for 2023. And you can find all kinds of great information about Race Across America there.
Including how to find our time stations, right?
Correct, definitely.
Yeah, they're not that hard to find, but Chillicothe, you're kind of a little off the beaten track there a little bit, but
yeah, and that may change again this year. We're not sure yet because somebody may be taking it over for me while we go on to bigger and better things.
Oh, that would
which
be
was
great.
A little sneak peek.
Yeah, let's just keep that for a deep
another day.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Had a text message from Dex Took today. He said he is home. He is recovering. We wish him well.
Yes, definitely.
And he has a complete recovery.
Yes.
I do want to do an update here on Pritamaska in India. I've been watching. This is the most remarkable ride, India west to east. It doesn't seem like maybe, but I'm telling you, once you get to what we think is the end of India, it goes on and on and on and on and on, way up there into the Himalayan mountains.
Yes.
And I just checked a little bit before. I made a note here. She's about 73. This is my estimate based on a map tag I got. About 75 miles from the end, 38 kilometers across India.
Mm-hmm.
The last, her coach and one of the crew members, I don't know if he's
Right.
or not, Dr. Mah- Majahan,
Easy for you to say.
easy for me to say, yes. Uh, good, good friend of the show, as a matter of
Mm-hmm.
fact.
Yes, definitely.
Sorry about messing that up. He tells me that the last 150 kilometers is a four-wheel drive track.
That's crazy.
And actually, he says that they had authority from the officials at the World Ultra Cycling Association
Mm-hmm.
that if the road got too bad, that last little bit, they could simply peg it and say, this is the east end of India. So,
and they're real close to, if they make a wrong turn, they're in China, correct?
yeah, and the Chinese don't take too kindly to to people. Those borders are kind of tenuous up there, anyhow.
Definitely.
But I don't think they're likely to take a wrong turn. There's only one trek to this little town, so
that's correct.
Yeah, so we wish her well. If there is an epic journey for the WCA this year, that's got to be it.
Mm-hmm. I think you're correct.
Yeah, and the reason why they can give them that authority to set an end point, it hasn't been done before.
Right.
So once they peg it as the end, then that
will be the end from now on.
You know, we had her on the show a while back. What a remarkable woman.
Yes, definitely.
Talk about our partners.
Well, let's do the RAM updates real quick, if we could, as part of the news. Start that out this year. For 2023, we've already got quite a few number of people and teams out there signed up. 1 2-person team, 8 4-person teams, 3 8-person teams, and we've got 20 solos so far, and they encompass 14 countries so far, which is great. And there's the breakdown of that. So far, the winner usually is not a USA, but we're leading the pack right now with 11. So it should be a great race for 2023. And our partners, of course, the Race Across America people, the Great Spiegel Bikes, and the awesome Infinity Seats, as well as our City of Oxford, the Village of Blanchester, and the City of Chillicothe. And for 2023, who knows?
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yep. And that's all the news we have and the updates. Okay,
next week we're going to have a 4-person mixed team on for the Race Across America. Team IADIP. I have trouble remembering this name. It's Another Day in Paradise. And they are riding in memory of Dr. Breedlove, who we know lost his life, unfortunately, on RAM a number of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And their charities, the Muscular Dystrophy Association and Junior Diabetes Research Foundation.
2 great causes.
Give us your comments and your questions, and we'll post them here for our guests to respond to. Or
just
if you don't
like
have a
this
comment
one right
or question,
here from Amber. Great to have you out there watching, Amber.
The high point of Ohio.
There you go. They're on their way back. They're on their way back from the World Time Trials themselves. So, safe travels.
Yeah, we wish them well.
Yes.
And if you don't have a comment or a question, just tell us where you're from, watching from, and we'd be glad to do that. Okay, well, let's get to, when it comes to Meg Hackinen, where in the world are you tonight?
Coming to you from Portland, Oregon, from James.
Wow.
Do you get around James as much as she does?
Not quite as much. I try to compete, but she's...
My goodness. I mean, so many places, so many things.
Definitely.
Jim, now we got a Jim and we got a James, so let's keep those straight.
Yeah.
Hi, Jane. Oh, we're always glad to see you.
Yes,
we're going to get you on the show one of these days. She was out there at the World Time Trials. I saw her on the list, and what a great person. Since we kind of headlined Meg, I think we ought to talk to James here. We haven't met you before. Welcome to the OhioRAAM Show.
Yes, definitely.
Tell us a little about yourself and about your cycling background and how you met that lovely lady next to you.
Thank you, Lee and Jim. So I started cycling back in 2012. When I moved to Portland, I just started mostly as a bike commuter, and I just really fell in love with it and started touring, and just things sort of snowballed, and I ended up quitting my job in IT and became a bike messenger and a pedicabber, and just ended up riding more and more and more, and
Wow.
discovered randoneering and ultra cycling through a friend of mine, and it's just ended up here. I've crewed for 2 RAM teams so far, and Meaghan during the World Time Trials in 19. I'm like making up numbers now, apparently. So in 2019, I crewed for Meaghan, and we actually had met at a bar.
A biker bar, huh?
A biker bar. Yeah, it was Dots. There was a pre-ride race for the Trans Am, and we ended up hitting it off there. And in 2019, when we connected on the Race Across America, we've been together since.
Awesome. That's great.
Now, were you a Canadian, James, or?
No, I'm an American.
Okay. More's the pity, huh?
Well, it makes it a little challenging with the border sometimes.
The whole COVID thing when the border was closed.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Just saw each other virtually for a year. That was fun.
But we do have access to some of the most beautiful countryside on both sides. So
Definitely.
Now, you did the World Time Trials on a fixie.
yes.
Or as we should say properly, a fixed gear.
Single
Now, we
speed,
do have some people, believe it or not, who know very little about cycling who do watch occasionally. So tell us what a fixed gear bike is.
So the pedals are directly connected to the rear wheel in such that there's only forward motion. There's no freewheel. So you can't back pedal. Your legs never stop.
Right. As long as you're moving, you're going. Your legs are moving.
Yeah.
So
Now,
no shifting. I didn't run a rear brake on my wheel because you just it's unnecessary because you can
put reverse pressure on the pedals. Yeah.
Right. Reverse pressure on the pedals will slow you down, and it's not like a coaster brake where you lock up the rear wheel by backpedaling or it just kind of does its thing. It's like it's your foot. The wheel always wants to keep on going forward. So there's it's just that constant movement.
Now, how did you get into fixed gear or single speed? Was that from the messenger bit, or did you always have a tendency to like single speed?
It was, you have messenger friends, and they're like, "Oh, I don't have to fix anything. I don't have to run brakes. I don't have to do this and that and the other thing." And it's a very reliable bike. It requires very minimal maintenance. And it takes a different technique and style to ride, opposed to like a bike with a freewheel. So I feel like it has a much more artistic styling to it. There's a whole lot more form and fun that you can have on a fixed gear.
Gotcha. What type of bike do you have, just out of curiosity?
It's an all-city big block.
Gotcha. Excellent.
I have never ridden a fixie, except when the freewheel on my tandem started losing bearings. And it suddenly turned into a fixie. And I'll have to say, I was ready to be done with that real quick, James. And I wasn't sure how the heck I was going to get stopped. But we managed to do it with no scars. So that was that. And I do want to say something. Jim used the phrase single speed. That's different than a fixed gear.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of interchangeable,
okay,
but not
Jim.
really.
I just
Yes.
want to make sure
Yeah,
people
yeah.
understand. A single speed may look the same, but you
But it
can stop
coasts.
pedaling and
Right.
the bike will continue to coast.
Right.
Not so with a fixed gear. Those
Right.
pedals keep on turning no matter what.
Right. And
Right.
some of them have reversible rear wheels where they've got fixie on one side, single speed on the other.
So on my bike, I've put a fixed cog onto both sides of the rear wheel,
Gotcha.
so I can flip it around and have a different gear ratio.
Different gear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And it's a lot of fun. One way of explaining it is I can do a backwards circle just by hopping on the bike and backpedaling, and I will just ride backwards. It's
That's
Have you tried to convert Meaghan yet, or is she going to have nothing to do with a single speed or fixed gear?
I actually have a single speed bike that I have down here in Portland, and I rode it today, and it was super fun. I don't know if I'm into the fixed gear thing, but the single speed's nice.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a simple, fun bike to ride. So
well, James, how did you do at the World Time Trials with the fixed gear? Is that the first time riding it there?
So first time riding it out at Brago. I did do the virtual 6 hour during the pandemic, and a few tests of like gearing on the virtual course with the fixed gear. So I was had a good idea of how I was going to feel. At least maybe not for 24 hours, but so I did 415 miles in, there we are. So 415.2 with a time of 23:51:09, and which got the course record by 3 minutes and 39 seconds.
Outstanding. That's impressive.
We mentioned last week you had the course record, but the numbers were just in, so I was almost afraid, because sometimes, those things will change a little bit, but you did get that course record for a fixed gear bike.
And I believe you got RAM qualified, correct?
Yes.
Excellent.
I think a really impressive thing about James's record is that his crew, we shared a crew, my parents and Randy Horton, and they prioritized me. So there was a couple times when James came into the pit and he just had to fend for himself. There was no one helping him out because they were all hands on deck helping me have a really efficient stop. And I think they did a really great job of helping him out, except for a few times where you were abandoned.
Gotcha. How much time off the bikes did you guys have during the 24 hours? Do you know?
I probably had about 20 minutes. I had a bit more than I planned on, but James had a little bit more.
That was about an hour and 35, 39, something like that.
Okay. Was that to plan, or was that by happenstance, or?
So I plan to have actually a little bit more break time, just to let my legs stretch a little bit.
Yeah.
Being on the course, there's not a whole lot of playful spots where I could stretch out, and my legs would just be in that constant motion.
Gotcha.
And it's not like they're ever going to stop. It's just there's no way, they just keep on going.
There's no rest.
There's no rest.
Yeah.
So my rest was in the pit, where I could kind of get a little bit different movement to just limber up a little.
Well, let's talk to Meaghan here. Now, I don't think anybody was surprised terribly that Meaghan won it. Although she
I was
claims
surprised.
she
I
was.
totally
That's what I was
surprised.
saying. You're one of those people. There's a few people like you who just go and say, "Well, I just went there to have fun,"
Fun. There you go.
and they wind up, blowing the record away. Um, but we're not surprised at that, Meg, at all. I mean, we've been watching you for a long time.
Hmm.
Uh, how did the race go for you, basically?
Yeah.
Well, you won it. I mean, what?
I put some effort into kind of planning out, what I wanted my pace to look like. And I think I maybe made the mistake in 2019 of going out too hard and getting a bit baited by perhaps trying to be in the 500-mile club. And this year I didn't try for that. I just went out a bit more sustainable pace. And I don't check the rankings until like sunrise. So I don't know where I am. I might be passing people or being passed. It's really disorienting in the dark and stuff, right? So I felt pretty strong, and I felt pretty confident in the middle of the night. I just kept riding, and really consistent, and that felt good. And I based my first attempt all on RPE, rate of perceived exertion, and the second attempt in 2019 I based on heart rate, and this time I based it all off of my power numbers and what I thought I could sustain based on power data I've accumulated over the past year or so. And so I just really had to trust that I did my calculations right and that I picked a good number and that it was going to hold true. And there were times in the first 6 hours where I felt like I wasn't working hard enough and I should be going out harder. And then I was like, no, Meaghan, you always feel this way. And then
paid off in the end,
midnight.
Yep.
Yeah. So I just kind of waited for it to start feeling harder and harder. And in the morning, it's always such a joy to take off your layers and experience the sun on your skin. And that was about this time I learned that I was in the lead, which was, it was really encouraging. It gave me that boost to kind of maintain consistency until the end. And I think when I found out my position, my crew told me over the phone that I was 10th overall. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm coming for them. I'm going to pick them off one by one. And it was really fun to kind of shark down the boys in front of me for the last few hours.
You weren't 10th overall, Dan.
No, I wasn't.
You were second overall.
Yep. Let's see how she did right here. 478 miles. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Did you make... Go ahead.
Oh, my goal, I think, was 470 miles.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask, yes.
Yeah, it's really awesome to exceed your expectations. And I think that, I think I planned to ride a little more conservatively than I did, but I didn't go out a lot harder. So I found that sweet spot where I could keep going. And I had a few events this year where I rode through the night. So I think that really prepared me. Like at the beginning of October, I did a ride called the Big Lonely in Bend, Oregon. And it was like 350 miles of single track gravel and pavement. And I finished it in 33 hours and change. So I just rode for 33 hours. And I think that really helped prepare me for this because, it's kind of cold and lonely and dark in the high desert of Oregon at night. And I felt like I was okay to ride through the stint at Borrego without, I don't know, overreaching.
Gotcha. How did the weather affect both of you? Was it decent or was it too cold, too warm, blah, blah, blah?
I think it was a really good year in terms of weather. It wasn't too hot in the day, and I felt it was a bit cold at night, but I have asthma, so the cold is a bit harsh on my lungs. It wasn't as cold as it was in 2019, though, which was good.
Right.
So it was pretty moderate, not windy. Yeah, what did you think?
Oh, the weather was great.
Gotcha.
I kind of wish it was a little cooler in the daytime because I was overheating a little bit, but I just don't do that great in the desert. So there were a couple cold spots on the course, which I didn't expect them to get quite as cold. So I go around the southeast corner or
there were some cold spots.
Yeah, the two corners on the course, they were really chilly, and then you go up that hill and all of a sudden it's warm and toasty again. So you don't want to layer up. So just kind of bear with it for those sections. And overall, I thought it was great because there was the moon was out. You could see a little bit of animals like scurrying off in the distance, just kind of making use of all that moonlight. Yeah, beautiful course.
Awesome. How did you guys prepare leading up to this? Did you train specifically for this, or did you just do your normal stuff like, Meg, I know you had some other events, etc. So
Yeah, I think I was pretty busy with other events after the Big Lonely. I was kind of recovering that first week of October, and I hadn't, like, I was on the roster, but I hadn't really committed to doing the race. I hadn't bought my ticket or anything yet, and I was kind of waffling whether I was going to compete because I felt, I didn't feel very confident, and I did really well in the Big Lonely, so I kind of wanted to end my season on a high note. So I wasn't sure I was going to do it, and then I decided maybe like, I don't know, the 10th or the 12th of October that I would race. And I did some structured training for 2 weeks and then tapered. And I rode my time trial bike once outside. So I probably should have done that a bit more. But I felt like I had the pace and everything dialed in just from having like a huge number of base miles this year and doing other self-supported ultras. I think James had a bit more of a training plan this time.
Hey, we'd like to hear from some more people, though, out there. Give us a comment, folks. Well, Meaghan, we originally scheduled you here to talk about the Transcontinental, which almost
It feels like
is
ancient history.
an afterthought. What is it, about 4,000 kilometers, is it? Something like that?
I think my route was like 4,500. It varies a bit, and it's
started in western France and ended at the Black Sea and
started in Belgium. Yeah.
Belgium, okay, yeah, and ended in
Burgas, Bulgaria.
Bulgaria, yeah,
At the Black Sea.
At the Black Sea, I knew it was that. But trying to get my geography straight here. And we watched you on that, followed you along. How'd that generally go? I think you had to change your strategy a little bit in that, or did change your strategy?
Yeah, it's an incredible event. It's like probably one of the biggest adventures I've ever been on. But the Transcontinental is a self-supported, self-navigating route with checkpoints that generally happen to be in like high mountain passes with these mandatory parcours that you have to do these certain sections, but most of it is free navigation. So it really tests how well you can prepare, by route planning and having the right equipment and navigating and just kind of taking care of yourself on the road in all these different countries. I found it really challenging. I was disappointed in myself a lot of the time because I don't feel like I, did as well as I thought I would when faced with challenges. I fell apart a bit. I didn't manage my sleep strategy very well. And it was an incredible event, but I didn't feel I just didn't feel like I pulled it together very well. I was kind of grumpy with myself a lot of the time, and it was just a frustrating experience. And at the same time, I recognize how privileged I am, and I'm so grateful for getting to travel through all these countries, and see all these remarkable places and to get to compete at this level. But I think I just had a kind of something wrong with my headspace, and I didn't get it right. And the event finished.
And we need to say, just kind of explanation, that on this event, you choose your own route with the exception of certain key points, certain tracks you have to follow. And I assume those weren't the easiest parts of the race either.
No. No, there was one section that was like 45 kilometers of gravel and like really bad gravel. We're not talking about like rail trail. We're talking about like quad road in the, I think it was in Transalpina, Romania, just in the middle of nowhere. They're really challenging. And, you're just wondering, am I going to blow up my bike? Am I going to get flat? Like I wiped out once, like just over the bars, down the hillside. And then two other riders happened to be coming, a pairs team. And so they saw me and they were like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm all good. It's just.
Now, I believe I'm right. When you did the North Cape 4,000, from Italy to the northern part of Norway, On that route, you had a specific route, didn't you?
That's right. Yeah, that was a set route, and I would say it was.
Had you ever done self-navigating before?
No.
So when I look at the dots, we dot watchers, we see some people take the short mountainous route, and other people take the longer flat route. They're all over the place at certain places along the route. Had you laid your plan out ahead of time, or did you make adjustments along the way?
I made my plan ahead of time, but I did have to adjust along the way. For instance, when I got to Serbia, I realized that I had planned to go on all these gravel roads, and I didn't know they were going to be gravel. I thought they were paved, and I had to, pull into a gas station after doing gravel all morning with an average of like 15 kilometers an hour, and use the Wi-Fi and replan my route for Serbia, and then set out and ride it, and I like that kind of challenge, like, and even though I was slower that day, like those were some of the best roads. Like, it was beautiful. It was a really unique experience, and I think some of the slower roads were my favorite roads. Instead of doing the coast in Croatia, I went into the hills again, and just like terrible pothole roads, but there's no one around them. There's horses. It's a beautiful place to watch the sunset, and so those were some of my favorite experiences, actually.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting concept, and as a tourist myself, who's, where you do more of that self-navigating, but I always found it quite enjoyable to wonder what's around the next bend,
Definitely.
But nobody. Yeah.
Well, Jane and Martha both commented they want to know, what are your plans for 2023?
And that's coming up pretty quick.
Yes.
Do you want to
now that you're both RAM qualified.
So I have the tour divide in my sights again this year. Well, for next year. I had planned to do the tour divide this year, but unfortunately I got into an accident and kind of spoiled that idea. So along with the tour divide, I have a couple other ideas for races that I want to do, but I haven't solidified anything yet. I want to do the Portland, Seattle, Portland again as a fixed event. See if I can get a few other folks to go along with me. It's a little tricky. It's a little specific, but I think that's just a beautiful route that just really lends to just the fixed gear, just floating over hills and really a playful route. It's a lot of fun.
Well, James, maybe this was not the year to do Tour Divide from the trouble a lot of people got themselves into. And
I heard. Yeah.
I guess some people had to be rescued from that snowstorm in the Glacier Park. But we have never really covered Tour Divide, and I want to. Could you be our person that we could tag along with, you think?
I will absolutely post along the way as best as I can.
Well, that's
it's a real remote route.
Well, we'll talk about it more, James.
Yes,
but just a little video every time you get close to a signal or something like that, and tell us how you're doing and where you're at, and we'll just keep posting those things as a part of the show, and that would be great. And then maybe to chat about it afterwards. I think I've had somebody who's not very far from the route, Jane, I can't think of her last name, on the show once, who has done the tour, but not the show wasn't about that. But we'd really like to do that, James. What's up with you, Meaghan?
I might also do the Tour Divide, and I have more gravel kind of off-road adventures planned. I did a ton of road cycling this year, and it was great, and I feel like I really yeah, I feel like I'm a stronger rider on the road, better bike handling skills, better descents and stuff. But yeah, I look forward to doing more off-road stuff. In BC, we have an event called the Buckshot that I'd like to do, and there's one called the White Elephant, and they're both kind of shorter bike packing races with set routes and pretty challenging courses. There's lots of elevation, a little bit of bushwhacking, kind of getting dirty and sleeping in ditches that I love. And I think I'm going to Mallorca again to be a ride leader for Brian Walsh's training camps.
Yep.
And so I signed up for the 312. And that one's a really cool, fun event. Lots of hill climbing and just gorgeous roads. So, and a little bit more room in my schedule this year to kind of play and pick up events last minute. And yeah, fill in those spaces as they arrive, I guess.
Outstanding.
James, it's been great.
Yes, we appreciate both of you being here and discussing Borrego with us and other stuff too.
For sure. High five. Yes.
Yeah,
Woo.
there you go.
Outstanding. Woo!
Yeah, well, maybe, well, I don't want to suggest a goal for Tour Divide, but we might think about that. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Yes, definitely. Thank you guys, and good luck on all your future adventures.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Lee.
Don't go away when we're done chatting here. But we do appreciate everybody who supports the show.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, we're only here to make ultracycling better known. And when you share, like Big Army Ho did, on both the Race Across America Facebook page and the World Time Trial Facebook page about you guys being on tonight, that always helps get the word out about this wonderful sport that we all love so well. So I think we're going to go try to find Greg if he's around. And there he is. I found him. Wake up, Greg.
This is Gregory Zuber, thanking you for watching and sharing.
Tap for sound.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.